Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm getting ready to make a batch of candles for the upcoming fall season, so I thought I would bring you along for one of the 3 different fragrances that I'm going to be making today. In this video today I'm going to be going over my full visual process and step-by-step tutorial of how to make this candle, and I'm also going to be sharing the full recipe as we go along. I'll be listing it in the description box below for you as well. I will be writing up the full tutorial with instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to make this candle, along with percentages and amounts and a full written recipe. I'm going to be posting that over on my Patreon campaign. I hope if you like this content, you will consider joining my campaign. The link is in the description box below for you as well. If you haven't had a chance to check out my campaign, I really hope that you will. There's a ton to take advantage of over there. Just at the $5 level, you're able to access hundreds of recipes and tutorials. We have several tiers, each with their own unique benefit, so I hope you'll go and check it out. We also are offering coupon codes to makesy.com and onlinelabels.com upon sign up, making your sign up really well worth it. And your contribution really helps me out. I'm a crowd-funded content creator, so your contribution really helps me to continue to do what I do best, which is to bring you these weekly tutorials plus formulas. So I really hope that you'll check it out and see what other makers love about my campaign. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut up our wax and prepare it for melting down. I am using this Presto roasting pot that we fashioned with a spigot, and I have it set to just about 200 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and cut this wax up and place it into the Presto roasting pot. And the wax that I'm using today has become one that I have shown you guys quite a few times. This is the Soy Bliss wax. I used to get this wax at 1617.com, and I ran out. 1617 is no longer in business, so I purchased this wax from hiveandhoney.com. I'll go ahead and place the link in the description box below for you in case you've been looking for this wax since 1617 has been gone. You can now get it at Hive and Honey. There's probably other suppliers you can find this wax at. This is the Soy Bliss wax, and it is made primarily of soy wax, and it has a tiny bit of food grade paraffin wax mixed in it, and that just helps with the smooth tops of your candles, and it gives it great glass adhesion. This is a super easy wax to use. I absolutely adore this wax. It's just superb. It's for me, I have a really good luck with hot throw. You just melt it down to about 210 degrees, and we'll talk more about that as we go along and what next steps are after that. Today I'm going to be making a total of, I think, about 13 pounds of wax. I'm going to be melting down about 13.5 pounds of wax. This roasting pot won't hold all 13 pounds, so I'm putting in about 11 pounds right now, maybe a little bit less depending on how much of this I can get cut up and put in there. All right, so that's about as much wax as I'm comfortable putting in here, which is probably about 9 to 10 pounds worth. So we're going to go ahead and allow this to just continue to melt down. And while this is melting down, we're going to go ahead and place some wicks in our jars. Now I'm changing it up a little bit this year. I'm changing the look up again this year with my candle vessels. Last year you guys saw me use the farmhouse vessels from Candle Science, and those worked great. I loved those, but I just wanted to change things up a little bit for this fall, because the farmhouse vessels, you can't put a sticky label across the body of the jar because it was a little bit beveled. So if you put a label across the jar, it just would never go on there without creases. It kind of looked like a bad wallpaper when you get the creases in the wallpaper, and there was no way to make it straight because the glass was beveled. So this year I really wanted to be able to put my label across the front of the jar, so I went with these amber colored 8-ounce straight-sided jars. I got these from uline.com. Really good price, right around the $2 mark per jar, and that includes tax and shipping. So these are rated for really high heat. They can take up to like 900 degrees Fahrenheit, so they're perfect for candles, which obviously aren't going to get that hot, but they are great for candles, and it's pretty easy to wick these if you have a good idea about your wax, what type of wick and jar you're using. They're fairly straightforward for wicking purposes. So today we're going to be using these along with the CDN size 4 wick. Now the CDN sized wicks, the CDN series wicks I should say, you can also purchase these at Hive and Honey. I have a bunch left over from when I used to purchase from 1617, so I'm going to be just using these, but you still can get the CDN series at Hive and Honey. Again, this is a size 4, and we're using the 8-ounce amber colored straight-sided jar from Uline. The CDN series is nice because they burn a bit cooler, which this particular wax, the Soy Bliss wax, likes kind of a cooler burn, and you get a really good scent throw. So we're going to go ahead and place these into our jars. So right here I just have some wick stickers. I got these off of Candle Science. These are always a little tricky for me to place in because they like to stick to the bottom here. Okay, so you're just going to place it on the bottom of your wick tab, and then for me, I like to go as close to the center as I can. I usually just eyeball this part and then just push it down. There's that. And you guys know too that I also always like to use the end of a pencil to stick these down. I'll show you what that looks like as well. So the kids have started school today. They're back in school. I love this time of year. For some reason, it just is very exciting to me and kind of nostalgic feeling. And of course, with the upcoming fall, which is like my favorite season. I kind of like all the seasons for different reasons, but there's something really special about the fall. And the start of school is always a really exciting time. So I don't know, I just really love this time of year. And also, I get to do more candle making. Candle making is kind of seasonal. At least for me, I usually sell more candles in the fall and in the winter than any other time of year. So that always brings me a lot of joy as well. All right, we're gonna go ahead and continue to finish wicking these, and I'll bring you back for the next step. All right, so the first batch we're gonna be pouring today is all wicked up and ready to go. And we're just gonna go ahead and put a wick clip on each of these. I got these also from Candle Science. I've had them forever. They last a really long time, but really you just place the wick in that little notch right there and center it the best that you can. You just kind of eyeball it, make sure it's as center as possible. Like that. And then you're ready to go. Then your jar is all prepped and ready to go. This jar really gives me fall vibes. The amber colored glass. It's really kind of just very autumnal. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and check the temperature here on my wax and see where we're at. Again, we want it to be is completely melted down, but we want it to be around 210 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're sitting at 214, so we are ready for the next step. All right, so for this next step, we're gonna go ahead and weigh off our melted wax into this melt pot / pour pitcher. And you can get these at Candle Science or any candle supply store, probably Amazon as well. And we are gonna be pouring fragrance into it. Right after we get the melted wax into here, we're gonna be pouring fragrance in it. And the fragrance that we're using today is called White Pumpkin and Amber. This is by Nature's Garden. And this is a new fragrance to me, but let me tell you, it's very good. So years ago, you guys saw me make the pumpkin apple butter candle. I haven't brought that one back in a few years. That one's also amazing. This one is more like, if I had to describe it, I would describe it like a white pumpkin latte. It's not as spicy as like a regular pumpkin latte smell. It's a little bit more mellow, and it's great out of the bottle, but let me tell you, in your products, it really shines, it blooms. It's so beautiful in the products, but it's got a touch of spice, but it's definitely more just like, again, kind of like a white pumpkin latte, if that makes any sense. Just kind of creamy, a little bit spicy, sweet, really beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and weigh off 72 ounces of wax. Although I don't think this pitcher is going to take 72 ounces, so we may have to do that part in batches. All right, I went ahead and ran the calculations, and it's going to be over 5 pounds of wax and also fragrance in here if we do the whole thing. So I'm going to have to go ahead and split it up into batches. So I'm going to do 36 ounces of melted wax and 4 ounces of fragrance oil in here. That'll give us a total of 40 ounces. It can probably take a little bit more than that, but I just don't want to make it so heavy, again, that it is hard to pour and to manage. So right now I just opened the spigot and I'm allowing this to drain into my melt pot. I'm sorry I don't have a better angle on this. It's a little bit of an awkward angle, but you just open the spigot on it and let the wax out. Go ahead and weigh this. Okay, we're actually almost there. Okay. All right, perfect, 36 ounces. I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick temperature read on this. So we're gonna allow this to come down just a bit in temperature before we add our fragrance. This wax is so easy to use, like I was saying before, that you really don't have to wait for it to come down in temperature. In fact, it's better to add your fragrance to this particular wax at a higher temperature. So we want to add it in right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when we want to add the fragrance in. It just helps the fragrance to bind with the wax a little bit better and gives you a better scent throw. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to go ahead and wait for this to come down a little bit. It's still a little bit too hot here. So I'll bring you back when we're ready for the next step. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and add the fragrance oil in now. So for this half of the batch, we're going to be adding in 4 ounces of fragrance oil. So we're adding the fragrance oil in at 10% content. So the fragrance oil is 10% of the recipe, and the wax is 90% of the recipe. Okay. And then from there, you're just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a stir. So unlike traditional soy wax or 100% soy waxes, you don't have to stir for 2 minutes straight. You just give it a little bit of a stir. It just binds super easily And you don't have to do 2 pours. 1 pour on this wax is perfect. I never get any sinkholes or any problems with glass adhesion. And I get even tops. A lot of times with 100% soy wax, you'll get tops that get a little bit bumpy or cracked looking or a little mottled. Totally normal for 100% soy wax, but aesthetically, I just like the way that this wax looks better. So that's all we're gonna do. Just make sure you get your glass in order here, ready to pour. Gosh, it already smells so good in here. And then we're gonna just pour carefully in. We're gonna go to the top or to the bottom of that first lip on the jar. And then if you notice your wick at this point is off center a little, it's a great time to just kind of adjust your wick and make sure it goes straight. Okay, so almost 6 containers. So again, it's just a great time to kind of come in here and adjust any wicks that might look a little uncentered to you. It's easy to become a perfectionist with candle making, and I've been making candles for a long time, and over the years I have learned to let go of some of that perfection. I mean, it's important to be as accurate as possible with things like wick placement and your measurements, because you definitely want to be consistent in your candle making, and you want a consistent burn, and you want your customers to come back. Some of the things that I'm not so like picky about anymore are things like wet spots. You guys may know that if you're a candle maker. A wet spot is what it's called when your wax looks like it's not adhered to the glass all the way. So your candle looks like it has a little bit of like water in between the wax and the glass. And it's just the glass, it's just the wax not adhering to the glass perfectly in some spots, like pulling away from it a little bit. And I have really let that go. I think when I started to let that go is when I realized I would go into the stores and see like big candle companies that were selling candles that had wet spots in them, and nobody cared. It kind of just made me realize that I'm the only one that noticed it, and at that point I just kind of gave up on making that part look perfect, because for me, like, even though you try super hard to make those things like wet spots go away or not appear on your candles, despite your best efforts to make them not there, they still can pop up. So it can be a time-consuming and frustrating process of trying to get them all out. And then guess what? As soon as your candles are exposed to any type of like temperature drop or rise or fall in temperature, then your glass adhesion can also be affected. So there's just not really a whole lot you can do about that. So that's something that I've given up on. All right, time to place the rest of the fragrance into the next half of the batch here. So I never preheat my jars. So that's something that people do to try and remedy the issue with the glass adhesion. That's just not something that I do anymore. So I don't heat my jars. I don't put them in the oven. I don't use a heat gun on them before I pour. I know certain waxes are more susceptible to glass adhesion problems. And so, you know, there are some waxes where that might be more necessary, but you know, this one has excellent glass adhesion, and the minimal wet spots that I do get, I just go ahead and leave them alone. And I used to add color. Sometimes I still use color in my candles, but for the most part, I just don't use candle dye anymore. Especially if you're making one with a colored glass, like this one, you don't need it, or an opaque container, you don't need any candle dye. But candle dye is fun to add, but it's just not something I typically do much anymore. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and top off this one before we pour the rest. Alright, so here they are all filled up. So we're just going to allow these time to set up and cure a little bit, and then I'll bring you back to show you the label and what label I made and how to put it on. Alright, so these are now ready for a label. So I'll go ahead and show you the white pumpkin and latte one. So I created these labels over on Canva and then imported my design into onlinelabels.com to be compatible with the label paper that I'm using here. So that's how I created it. I designed it on Canva and then created the actual label on onlinelabels.com using their software to just fit the label onto this size. And there you have it. I thought they turned out pretty cute. So that's that one. And then of course, don't forget to always put on a warning label on the bottom. I'll show you those. So I just got this roll. I've had this roll of warning labels for a long time. It has a lot of stickies on it, and I just placed the label on the bottom, the warning label on the bottom. Alright, so they're all labeled now, and I just wanted to show you the other two that I made here. So we have white pumpkin latte, which you saw me make, and then autumn eclipse, and then we have autumn woods. And there they are. There you have it, everyone. That's how you make a strong smelling fall themed candle. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me some comments and questions below. That really means a lot to me. Share this video with a friend, and why not subscribe to my channel? All right, everybody, catch you on the next video. Bye. Keep shining.